Hell froze over, so here comes the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. One Medicare podcast that never fails to satisfy. He was elected to his squad to take the point. It's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Well, hello again, everybody. I'm so glad you've joined us for another episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. You may have heard, but I'm going to say it again. My name is Doug Jones. I am your Medicare host for today. I'll be taking your drink orders and then bringing your refreshments, and I'm going to bring refreshments in the form of Medicare knowledge. What I suggest that you do is go to barnesandnoble.com or even amazon.com and purchase your Medicare knowledge in the form of my book, Medicare for the Lazy Man 2025. It's got the patriotic cover on the front. It is full of Medicare knowledge and it's just waiting for you. If you want to purchase a paperback book, that's going to be an $11 item. If you want to purchase the Kindle version because you've got an Amazon Kindle reader, that's a $4.50 item. If you want to purchase the Audible book and listen to somebody else do all the heavy work of reading the big words and turning the pages and letting that knowledge, that Medicare knowledge just float out of your speakers and into your ears, that item, I don't even know what the cost of that is. I think it's around $6. And then, of course, we have the magnificent hardcover version of Medicare for the Lazy Man 2025. That is a $25 item, but it is well worth it in terms of protection for your home. Or if you're out driving around in the car and you happen to be in a bad neighborhood and some gunfire erupts, you can use that for personal protection until you remove yourself from the danger zone. In any event, after you enjoy a few moments or maybe an hour or so, you're going to find yourself in possession of Medicare knowledge that you never thought existed. And it will make so much sense to you that you're going to slap yourself in the forehead and you're going to go, why didn't I know about this long ago? Now, of course, it's all immaterial if you don't have a Medicare encounter coming up. If you're not ready to think about enrolling in Medicare, you might want to purchase the book and then put it on the shelf until your time comes. But when you're a few months before Medicare time, when you're a few months in advance, I'm glad it warns me when things like that happen. Randy turned into a dim shadow of his former self. It was pretty scary. In any event, buy the book and you'll be happy you did when Medicare time comes around for you, a couple of months before you turn 65, maybe 3 months before. Yeah, that's the time to kick it into gear and let me know that you're ready to go with Medicare, because I will help you execute all the fun stuff that you read about in Medicare for the Lazy Man 2025. So go get the book, read it, and get ready for your Medicare encounter. If you don't have a Medicare encounter coming up, then I would have to say that maybe ignore this podcast. Go away. Don't waste your time listening to us, because we're only here for the Medicare eligible people in the audience. So anyway, Randy Carson, you're always here to help out and make this podcast sound better than I had left it. It's always an improved version of it by the time I get to hear it again at the end of its lifespan. And
well,
I'm
thank
happy
you.
for that.
I appreciate that.
It's also one of these things where you come to us every episode with a different background, but yet you have a few favorites that get reused, and one of them is Monument Valley. That's where you are right now.
Right. I'm right ahead. As you can see, I'm in Monument Valley. I'm standing in front of, I guess, the Mittens is what they call it. So I've been to Monument. It is an amazing place, Monument Valley. If you haven't been there, if you've got a visit scheduled up for Arizona, Monument Valley should be certainly on your list, because it is worth the trip.
And this is the right time of the year to go too. You don't want to go in the winter. It's pretty chilly up there in the wintertime.
Yeah. Well, you know me, anything below 72, and I'm looking for a sweater.
Yeah, or or a house to hide in.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. But today we've got a great day going, Doug. It's 89 degrees down in my neck of the woods. What is it up there?
Well, let me see what my weather prognosticator says. I'm going to push the buttons here, and it says that my current temperature is 89 degrees. So it's rare that we're the same. Usually I'm a few degrees cooler than you are because I'm a little higher altitude, but in
Yeah.
my case, 89. But the cool thing about today at 89 degrees, people are saying to themselves, what a hellhole. It's going to be over 150 degrees by the time afternoon rolls around. Not true at all. Today levels off at 93 and stays at that level for about an hour in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it drops off again. And our low for the nighttime is going to be 69, according to my
Oh,
calculations.
I'm gonna have to get a sweatshirt out.
You're going to need a sweatshirt. I'm going to say stay inside. I'm going to park myself in front of the television, but it's going to be in the 80s and then the 70s until I'm sound asleep. And that 69 will occur for 2 hours between 5 and 7 a.m. And then it's going to start up again tomorrow with another fantastic sunny day. And I'm pretty sure there are people around the country who are very irritated hearing us talk about what a paradise we live
Well,
in.
you know me. I'm a pill. I'll call up my friends back in Omaha and I'll say, "Hey, you know what I had to do today?
Yeah.
I had to get up. You wouldn't believe it. I had to get up and I had to scoop sunshine off of my driveway."
Yeah, I used to do that, but I got it back in spades during that 1 or 2 days of the year when it's actually warmer in Illinois than it is in Arizona.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
that happens, and it's very rare, but when it happens, I pay for it because those people always remember and they get back at me.
They've probably got your number, penciled on their board right next to their phone.
Yes, yeah. There's generally a whiteboard, and they've got magic markers there,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ugly cartoons of my frowning face.
So yeah, I'm sure you get it big time. Well, let's
Yes.
call Doug today because guess what? We are leading Arizona by 2 degrees.
Well, here's how I get them back, though. I force them to listen to podcast episodes, even though each one of them is a client of mine, and each one has a Medicare supplement plan that's priced right, that fills their needs precisely. I still force them to listen to the podcast episode. So I feel at the end of the episode that I've gotten some revenge. That's what I'm always looking for.
The other thing I was going to mention is, there's a lot of podcasts that have if you identify the secret word,
Uh huh.
that you'll win something.
Yeah. Would that
And I
involve
was,
actually having to give anything away? Because I'm not in
well,
favor
I
of
was
that.
thinking about maybe, because of the 2020, the 2025 book is out. I was
Yes.
thinking maybe we could put out an episode where if they identify the secret word and they could go to the store and pay double for the first book, they get the second one for free.
Oh boy, that's cool. Okay, let's do that. Let's institute that. We're going to have to write up all the rules and see if the corporate lawyers approve, because there are very in this litigious society, you can't just do fun stuff anymore without getting permission from somebody. But
I
okay,
understand that.
let's keep that in the back of our minds, and I'm going to head right over to our Medicare Advantage Minute. It's a minute during which I try to warn everybody in the world that will listen to this podcast that Medicare Advantage is a mistake. It is a poor way to enter Medicare. What you want to do is avoid Medicare Advantage like the plague. In this article, I don't know if it's going to agree with me or not, but Medicare Advantage so far, 5 things to know is the title of this article. So it starts out by saying that the Trump administration has boosted payment rates for Medicare Advantage plans. We discussed that just a couple of episodes ago. But some insurers have said the rates are not enough to offset lower rate increases over the past few years. In April, the government said plans can expect payment increases of about 5% in 2026. The increase is higher than the 3.33% plans received last year in 2024 and the 3.7% that they received in 2023. Now we're talking about Medicare Advantage plans. During an earnings call, Elevance Health CFO Mark Kay told investors that the increase is more reflective of actual trends, but it doesn't restore the impact of prior underfunding. So these plans are whining about. Now that, yeah, there you go. Randy was giving me the wrong signal. He normally signals me one thing, but in this case, he started out. Now he's playing his teeny little violin because he's very sympathetic that these Medicare Advantage plans are not getting the amount of money from the federal government that they want to get. It doesn't fully restore the impact of prior underfunding, is what this CFO is saying. Here are 5 things to know about the Trump administration's approach to Medicare Advantage so far and how insurers are responding. Number 1, the Trump administration's final rate notice for 2026 keeps in place the 3-year phase-in of risk adjustment changes from the V24 to the V28 model. Many payers have decried the model, saying that it amounts to a pay cut for Medicare Advantage plans. Well, good. Maybe they'll straighten up their acts and start following the marketing rules that they are supposed to be following, but they tend to ignore. Number 2, United Health Group CEO Andrew Whitty called the transition an aggressive price-cutting regime. The insurer lowered its earnings guidance for 2025 based on challenges in its Medicare Advantage and Optum Health business. Still, Mr. Whitty said United Health Group was pleased to see the increased rate notice for 2026. Number 3, Centene CEO Sarah London told investors that the new rates better reflect the medical cost trend we've seen in Medicare Advantage over the last 2 years. She said there will still be gaps to close between rate and cost across certain geographies, but this step forward was important as we look to deliver value benefits to seniors and to return our business to break even in 2027. This is what she said in April 25th, and Randy's going, sure, break even, lady. Yeah, you've hidden so much profit. You buried that in your creative bookkeeping.
How do you make, several billion dollars a year in profit and still only be break even?
Creative bookkeeping.
I totally get that.
Number 4, CMS also published the final rule for the Medicare Advantage and Part D plans in April. The agency included measures to streamline prior authorizations, we'll see if that works, and increase the oversight of supplemental benefits. The government did not move forward. I want to make sure I read that correctly. The government did not move forward with the Biden administration's proposal to cover those GLP-1 drugs for weight loss under Medicare, and they also did not finalize rules in place to guardrails. They did not finalize rules to place guardrails around how plans can use AI in prior authorization decisions. Number 5, as part of the final rule, the government rebranded the Health Equity Index Reward Program. I'd like to know what the heck that is. Beginning in 2 years, the program will be called Excellent Health Outcomes for All. Well, that just rolls right off the tongue. The change better captures the goal of ensuring exceptional care for all enrollees, said the agency. Well, all right, we'll see.
I've got a name for that.
What's that?
Why don't they call it Kickbacks for All?
Yeah, well, that's what we discovered in a recent episode, that some of these large insurance companies, like one quoted, were paying millions, hundreds of millions, I think I read, in kickbacks to agents, actually big giant marketing companies, to only sell their products. They didn't find us.
No. I can't believe anybody would do that, would they, Doug?
Well, they're very persuasive, and if they had come to us to discuss that, we might be singing a different tune right now. But they didn't, so we aren't.
When they talk about streamlining the processes in Medicare Advantage,
Yep.
you know what they really mean by that?
Oh, boy, I'm afraid to ask.
You get your rejections that much quicker.
Well, that's going to be an advantage for some people. Instead of being left hanging, you ask your doctor about what medical treatment is going to help you, and your doctor says, well, we need to do this procedure. And in order to do that procedure, I have to get permission from the insurance company. Otherwise, they are not going to pay for the hospital room, and they're not going to pay me to do this for you. And so that's called prior authorization. So then what does he do? He tells his clerk to fill out a bunch of paperwork, deal with the insurance company, and if they have to wait 10 days, 2 weeks to get prior authorization approval, I think that's punishment. Well, you shouldn't have gotten sick then.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with you. Now, as you can tell, I have no love lost for Medicare Advantage plans.
no, that's true. And they say they're going to streamline the prior authorization process. If that happens, it'll be a big shock to me because they have promised to do other things that have just not come to pass. For instance, you've got a network. You have to use certain providers, otherwise, you get the full bill. And that could be a surprise to you after you come out of anesthesia to find out that the anesthesiologist chosen to make your stay in the hospital pain free, it was not part of your network, and you get a separate bill for a ton of money from that person. That's called a surprise bill. And theoretically, that's illegal now, but they haven't seemed to figure out how to implement that law.
Oh, well, I hope they figure that out soon because Medicare Advantage, anytime I hear that term, my blood pressure goes up by about 3 or 4 points.
Well, if you need treatment for that, do not go to an out-of-network provider if you've got a Medicare Advantage plan. It's just going to exacerbate the problem. I would say stay away from Medicare Advantage. Only deal with an insurance broker, an insurance professional that's going to help you get a Medicare supplement plan. That's going to be the best of all possible options for you.
I totally agree with you there, Doug. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself out and we'll move on to the next section of this podcast.
All righty. Well, I think the next section is going to be your Medicare benefits. Used to be 2024, but we've slid into 2025 right now, and I'm just winding down the 2024 section. One of our listeners was so kind as to send me a link to the 2025 version. The object for today, we're still in the H's. This is the longest alphabet in the world, but today we're going to find out how Medicare is going to cover hospital beds. Part B, as in Bravo, covers hospital beds as durable medical equipment that your doctor or other healthcare provider prescribes for use in your home. Well, that's it. Pretty short. In other words, you can get a hospital bed paid for by Medicare. If you want more information about that, maybe you need a hospital bed, go to medicare.gov/coverage/hospital-beds. Or another URL you can use is medicare.gov/medical-equipment-suppliers. So that will be your Medicare benefits for today. And next time, we're going to talk about humidifiers. That's pretty exciting. Who knew that you could get a humidifier from Medicare? I've got the favorite subject of the content curator all queued up and ready to go. In fact, we may have too much for today, but I wanted to, first of all, share our buddy Steve down in Texas. He wrote an email to me, and he said, please forward this to Randy. He has some comments or questions about beer. And so I wrote him back and I said, hey, this couldn't be better, because he's talking about various beers that you find in Europe and wanted to discuss that with Randy. I said, I'm going to forward this to Randy right away because he's got a vacation in the UK planned for June of 2025. So the timing couldn't have been better. So here's Steve's message. He says, if Randy is agreeable, you can hook us up via email. I know that Randy's main thing is Guinness, but I'm guessing that he samples other beers. Well, I've never seen Randy turn down a beer. He prefers Guinness, but if you hold another one up in front of him, a different brand, I think the reaction is the same. Give me that.
Well, I don't think I've ever turned down a beer in my life, Doug.
Well, that's what I mean. So Steve is not, Steve is on solid ground when he says that you're probably expert in other.
Absolutely. And when Steve listens to this podcast, I am preparing his answer as we speak. But
Cool.
just as a tiny little, insight into what I'm going to be sending. There are many other beers in Europe, and one that I particularly enjoy, and it's an odd name, but it's Doom Bar.
Uh-oh.
Doom Bar is the name. It's a British beer. It's just absolutely a gorgeous beer, and if you can ever find it, it's hard to find, but if you ever find it, look for Doom Bar, Doom Bar, Doom Bar.
That brings to mind the Doomsday Book. If you'll recall, when my ancestor, 33 generations back, William the Bastard, uh, when he conquered England by beating his, I think Harold was his cousin. He defeated Harold on the field of battle at Hastings, and then he took over all of England, and he sent his minions out to count everything in the British, or in England actually, in their new kingdom, to find out how wealthy they had become. And so it was all entered into a book, a big giant book, and that book is called the Doomsday Book. It's a count of every person, animal, and thing in England. So I'd like to read it someday, but I'm guessing that it's not written in any sort of script that I'd be able to decipher.
Well, Old English is a lot like German, so maybe Mary could help you out.
Oh yeah, she's a kraut. That's true. All right, here we go with Steve's questions. First question. I liked, among others, a British beer called Bass Ale. Then I noticed it was being brewed in New York. Oops. Then I heard something about it being bought by Anheuser-Busch. Now you can't find it anywhere. Can Randy recommend a beer just like it? Bass was an IPA, India Pale Ale. There are these microbrews making an IPA, but they are junking it up like adding fruit juice, etc. That's question one. Question two, there is something called a black and tan. And I know about this because my son-in-law is an aficionado, and he has I've heard about him discussing black and tan in the past. So usually they mix a pale ale on one layer and then a dark beer, usually stout. When I was in the UK, I asked my British friend about this, and he said a pub in the UK would never do such a thing. They would consider it a waste of time. And his question is that true about pubs in the UK? So
Well,
maybe the first
I
question.
yeah, I don't necessarily drink black and tan, but it's more of an Irish thing
Okay,
that,
that's maybe what he missed.
than it is in Britain. But the other thing is, I was going to clarify just a little bit. It's there's another beer, Irish beer called Harp,
I've
and
heard that.
actually Harp and Guinness are, I believe, owned by the same holding company now. So typically, if you're going to make a black and tan, they use Guinness and Harp. And I don't know that it's I'm not going to say it's a waste of time, but if something deletes my or decreases my Guinness in the glass, dilutes the flavor, I'm not in favor of it. So I don't I don't know why people order them, but yeah, they're a very well-known thing in Ireland, but I doubt that they would do them. Maybe they would
Voluntarily.
do them voluntarily in Britain, but I don't think you're going to find black and tan all that popular in Britain.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there an element of the British Army that is nicknamed Black and Tan? They've got all kinds of military units that have their own personalities, their own traditions, and their own nicknames. Is it possible that there is a Black and Tan? I should be asking AI this, but I don't want to burn the whole episode with goofing around.
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll have to look it up because
Okay.
who knows? Who knows?
Well,
Uh,
while you're doing that, I know you're going to answer Steve directly. So Steve will
yeah.
get the answers to his questions, and I'm going to talk about the best customer in the whole darn world. The best customer I've ever seen. I've had a lot of clients and customers that have come close, but this guy is by all measures the best customer I've ever had. He did everything but enroll himself in the plans that I would have suggested. The first thing I got was a questionnaire. He went to medicareforthelazyman.com, and he clicked on the button that says send me a quote. Now, that send me a quote is very important because they will never get a phone call from anybody unless they want a phone call. They're only going to get an email with the requested information. And so Peter from New York went to MedicareForTheLazyMan.com, clicked on that, and he filled out the short questionnaire with just a little bit of biographical information so that I had enough information to get to know him a little bit to do his quoting for him. But I didn't have to do any quotes because Peter was way ahead of me. He said, I just received my Medicare card for parts A and B. What a guy. That is, so many people have not even started that process when I first hear from him. He said, I'm interested in high deductible plan G, which is exactly what I would have recommended for Peter. He said, my lowest New York premium, I didn't know he was in New York until that moment. My lowest premium for regular plan G is $325 a month. So the high deductible plan makes the most sense at $72 from Globe Life of New York, which is exactly the company that I would have recommended because it's the lowest premium in New York that I've found. Here are his questions. I have to get hernia surgery and prostate MRI and biopsy coming up. With the $253 per month difference times 12 months equals, I'd be saving $3,000, over $3,000, even though the cost I'd have to pay out is like $2,870. It seems as if even in a bad year, the high deductible plan G is the way to go. Is that correct? And I said, yes, sir, you are correct on all counts. I said, there isn't much more for me to add to the conclusions that you've already reached. Whenever you say the word, I will begin the enrollment process with that company on your behalf. Another consideration is drug plans. The first attachment to this message contains a short explanation of why buying a drug plan is important, and the second attachment is a document that contains links to a fillable form. If you regularly take prescription meds, you can use that method to convey the details about your drug list and preferred pharmacies. If you do not take any prescription drugs, forget the form and just let me know that. Any other questions? I'll be happy to address them. And he said, thank you. I've read your book and enjoyed it, which is that's music to any author's ears. I would like to go forward and enroll in the Plan G high value, which is the term that Randy coined for the high deductible Plan G. Thumbs up to Randy. Should I fill out the Medicare supplement questionnaire full with all of my info? I have researched Part D prescription drug plans in my zip code and found the least expensive. I can sign up for that myself, correct? My mom has been saddled with a rather large late enrollment penalty for years, so I don't want to make that mistake. And I said, yes, go ahead with all of that if you wish. The completed questionnaire will be delivered to me when you finish, and I will stay in touch with you about progress through underwriting. Well, he did that questionnaire in very short order. I went online and I completed his application with Globe Life of New York, the best rate available in New York for the high deductible G. They also call that G plus in New York. And he was finished with his Medicare work before you know it. And I barely had to get out of bed in order to give him the best coverage available at the most reasonable price available in New York. It is the best coverage because it's a Medicare supplement. It's reasonably priced because it's high deductible Plan G, or as they call it in New York, G plus. And he had already figured out all the nuances, and he did a great deal of the work. And so it was kudos to him. I will hold him up forever as the gold standard of clients that I would like to associate with. It's wonderful to have somebody like that who is doing all the thinning for me, as they would say on the Lucy show. All the thinning was done for me by Peter. And I've got more correspondence with other people who either want to be or are clientele. But as I say by the old clock on the wall, we're about out of time. Randy's going to chastise me for not having enough quarters available to keep the transmitter warmed up, but I don't think that's totally my fault. Is it, Randy?
Well, okay, I'm not going to tell you it's totally your fault. You just need to get some more quarters someday because we could probably make this podcast, last. We go for 30 minutes and we started out with 20. Now we're doing 30. I think some people would I think they'd want to go for like an hour and a half. What do you think?
Well, if so, they better start sending some cash in here because there aren't enough quarters in the world for me to do that.
Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my finish out, land the plane. We're coming in on 32 right today. And before we do, if you grab a pencil, you can reach out to Doug at using this email address, dbj@mlmmailbag.com. Doug is licensed in every state in the union. Check us out at the website, medicareforthelazyman.com. That's where you can fill out your questionnaires to get Doug up and busy on getting your Medicare supplement plans going. And if you could drop a review for us and you're wandering through the internet on Doug's books, that would be great. He puts a lot of work into those, and they are very, very informative. And I think they probably at some point in time they'll qualify as a family heirloom. Don't you think, Doug?
Sure, if they don't rot away first. A lot of humidity and mold in the air, and I don't know how long they're going to last.
Well, we'll find out. But last but certainly not least, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we always look forward to having your smiling face listening to Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. And as I said, we always do it for about 32 minutes. Well, today is no different. You have been with Doug about 32 and a half minutes. Doug Jones, the insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma. No more. He's up in the high ground behind Cave Creek, Arizona. And I don't think he's prepared to talk about this today, but I'm going to ask him in one of these future episodes how his hang gliding lessons finished out.
The hang gliding lessons are on hold while I deal with the problem that we've got with the travel logs. I'm going to have to
Oh,
explain that first. Let's do that next
okay.
episode, shall we?
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, come on back if you want to hear our travel log story, and even if you don't, come on back. We'll find something to do that hopefully will make it worthwhile for you to be with us. And I'm going to hold the door open for you and welcome you in with open arms. Bye bye.